Everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Adorkable Rachel, and it's time for another episode of Rachel Reviews, so let's just hop into it. Okay, so I'm gonna be really honest with you. You might see a little bit of ranting in this review. I'm just gonna be real with you. I don't usually have such feelings for a movie like this, but I can't help it. I gotta be honest, I gotta do it. And I know there's a lot of people out there who really like this movie, so if you don't want to see me rant about certain parts about Ready Player One, then it's okay to click away. I promise, I'm not gonna be offended. It's gonna be an interesting review, to say the least. And before we get into the review, this episode is brought to you by Stardust. Stardust is a free app that you can download onto your phone, link is in the description down below, and it's the easiest way to post reactions to movies and TV shows and trailers on social media. Whenever I go see a new movie, I always post my immediate reaction on this app, so that's the best way to see my first thoughts on the film before I even review it. And it's not just new stuff, because there are literally thousands of things that you can react to on this app. And if you download the app, you can post your own reactions, watch other reactors, and if you tag me in one of your reactions, you might get a chance to appear in my next video. Stay tuned until the end of this episode to see if your reaction made it into the review. Alright, and for those of you that stuck around, let's talk about Ready Player One. Ready Player One was directed by Steven Spielberg, and it's based on the book of the same name, which was published in 2011. It takes place in Columbus, Ohio in 2045, and it centers around a young man named Waithe who likes to spend most of his time in a virtual reality world called the Oasis. And apparently, most of society prefers to get caught up in this game too, since the world is kind of in a bad place right now. Okay, but it's revealed by the recently deceased Oasis's creator that he has hidden 3 keys within the game that will ultimately lead to a golden egg, and whoever finds the egg first will become the new owner of the game and also inherit $500 billion. Okay, so what I just told you right there, that is basically enough to understand the setup of the story, right? Well, right away, I was a little concerned that I wasn't going to be that invested in this movie because it literally took 10 minutes to explain everything about the virtual reality world, from the logistics to the rules to just everything. Oh my God. They just threw like everything at us, from how you play it to how it works to how you get money or lose money, and then it also goes to explain like this corporate jerk who's involved, and we also go into the history of the creator for a brief bit. In fact, in the middle of all this, there's this one scene where the creator is at a meeting and his partner's talking about the game, and the creator says, "Hey, so instead of talking about the game, why don't I just show you the game?" Yes, that is exactly it! When he said that, I thought to myself, yes, that's the whole problem with this introduction. Why are you just explaining everything? Why aren't you showing us everything? Why are you giving us all of this information that we have to absorb right now? Why can't we just learn about the game as the movie goes on? Can't we just experience the game rather than have this kid just explain everything to us like there's gonna be a quiz later? And that's another big problem that I have with this movie. At the very beginning of the film, Waithe leaves his home and immediately goes to a different location to play the game. We don't know if he's in school, if he has a job, if he's doing anything to try to get out of this slum that he's in besides play the video game. I don't know anything about him except for that he plays this game and he loves talking about it, and the game is already insanely more convoluted than it needed to be. And I know they tried to justify this later, like maybe half an hour into the film, where we see his sucky home life, but even then, it's only on screen for about a minute, and he's like, "I live with my aunt, and she has an abusive boyfriend. My dad died. So did my mom. I'm gonna go play the game now." So basically, I learned practically nothing about him, and I'm sorry, but I don't care. I mean, how can I? I don't have enough time or reason to feel bad for him. Also, question, what is so bad about the state of the world right now? Yeah, we see this slum that Waithe lives in, which is actually a kind of cool trailer park where all the trailers are stacked on top of each other. But other than that, what we see of the real world, it looks like it's doing okay. At the beginning of the movie, Waithe said that the world is in a bad place right now. So what exactly happened? Did society do something? Did a war happen? Is the environment polluted? Did the economy plummet? All of the above? And how long has this been going on for? When did we get to this point? I mean, I imagine in the book they probably went into more details, but here Waithe just says the world's in a bad place right now. So what exactly happened that made us all want to live in a virtual reality world? So many questions. Okay, so obviously I have some issues with the setup and the bland main character, so why don't we talk about some things that I do like about this movie? Well, for one, I actually do have to admit the Oasis is really cool and it's really well designed. They describe it as a world where you can do and be anything you want, and yeah, this is how I would imagine something like that. There's a lot of places you can visit and you can design your avatar however you want. I can see why people would want to escape here. In a dystopian world, you can live out your fantasies and live vicariously through your avatar. I get that. And to be fair, they do show us a lot of this in the beginning when Waithe passes a lot of people in trailers playing the game, but again, I feel like that's all we really needed to see. We didn't need so much narration in the beginning. Okay, positives. We're focusing on the positives. The Oasis is also animated very well. This looks like a real video game, and the CGI is actually really stunning and vibrant. Also, the movie does have a lot of fun action sequences. They have a lot of energy, they're creative. There's car races, some battles. They're all really entertaining to watch. Waithe is also really good friends with a character named H in the Oasis, and I like H. In fact, I like H a lot. And actually one of the sad parts of this movie is that most of the other characters are a lot more interesting than the lead. That's not really a good sign. Also, one of my favorite parts in the film is when they go into a movie, and I'm not gonna say what movie it is, but they literally kind of enter the world of this movie, and I was genuinely impressed with how they did this. Rather than just making a pop culture reference to the movie, they actually show the movie as though they're characters within it. That's kind of cool. And I don't know how they did that, if they recreated the set or if it's all CGI, I really don't know, but it was a really awesome idea and I thought it was done very well. And speaking of references, you might be aware that this movie has a lot of pop culture references. There are a lot of recognizable cartoon and game characters, as well as vehicles and weapons and just like anything you can think of under the sun. And you know, it makes sense that that kind of stuff is in this world because, again, people want to escape to a different reality where they can be something else. And honestly, the nostalgic stuff didn't really bother me that much because it wasn't as big of a focus as I thought it was going to be, and it does make sense having all this stuff present in a world where people want to just, you know, live in a nostalgic past. But my only thing is, why is everything from the 80s to the 2000s? This is supposed to be 2045, right? I mean, wouldn't they be nostalgic for things that maybe came out of the 2020s or the 2030s? I mean, I know we haven't gotten to that point yet, but you could have maybe put some effort into just making up some things from those eras. Did we stop producing pop culture after the 2010s? Or if you're gonna make people nostalgic about the 80s and 90s and so forth, then why did this movie have to take place in 2045? Why didn't it take place now or like 5 years from now? If this took place in like 2021, I would totally buy that, okay? And I know, maybe I'm thinking a little too hard about it, but it just seems a little off that in 2045, everyone's like still really obsessed with 80s culture. Also, I know I'm not the only one to notice this, but it's pretty obvious that there's a lot of nostalgia present in the movie itself, not just within the game. Even the poster of the film looks like a poster from the 1980s, and Waithe is even posing like Marty McFly here. Also, I'm just putting this out there, I don't think it was that big of a coincidence that Ben Mendelsohn looks an awful lot like Paul Gleason, who in the 80s was very well known for playing mean authoritative figures and bullies and no, you can't do that, I'm a jerk. In fact, that's another positive for you. I really like Ben Mendelsohn in this movie. He just plays that stereotypical 80s villain role so well. He's out to get you, but we can't let him win. I love it. Just that kind of, you know, self-awareness to it. I could have totally had more of that. Please, more of that, guys. Now here's the thing. I actually really like this idea. I get the feeling that they were really going for an 80s kind of movie that was self-aware that it was an 80s kind of movie. That also might have a bit of a Spielberg kind of throwback to it. However, I didn't realize this until about halfway through the film that that is probably what they were trying to do. At certain moments in the movie, it does feel like it's trying to be a classic kind of Spielberg film with the whimsical music, the fantasy elements, the cartoony setup, the bad guy who's just a bad guy. I mean, that's okay. You can have that kind of movie, especially if it's aware that it's that kind of movie. But I think the real issue is that I didn't get the feeling that it was really set up that way. Or at least if they tried to set it up that way, it definitely didn't come off that way. Also, again, not to mention that a lot of the characters and the world wasn't really fleshed out well enough. It wasn't until like the last third of the movie that I saw these Spielberg elements, and I almost bought it. I finally saw what it was trying to be. It suddenly had that feel to it, like we didn't have to take this so seriously. This could just be a fun homage and throwback to Spielberg movies, and it didn't have to make sense. It could just be a fun adventure. But then it's weird because the first third of the movie gives you so much exposition and takes itself so seriously that it feels like the first 2/3 and the last third, they're not the same movie. Especially when that really whimsical music started. It like came in halfway through the film and it just felt really out of place. Also, it's not just Waithe who's underdeveloped in this movie, because there's a couple other like characters that just are kind of there, you know, and they act like they've had this long relationship, but we don't know anything about them. It's like, you know, they exist. What happened? I mean, am I missing something? I just feel like you had this great opportunity to make this classic Spielberg film where the elements are simple, but the emotional stakes are high, and that just would have been so rad. So why did it feel like it wasn't quite there? Why did this movie have to take itself so seriously in the beginning and have so many rules to it and have a lot of really dumb things in it too? And why are the characters just not that developed? And yeah, there are some dumb moments in this movie, and again, I'm sorry, I know I've kind of ranted a bit, but I have to point them out because I have to. There's a couple scenes in the movie where we actually see people on the street playing the game with the virtual reality mask on and the gloves and everything, and why are they playing it in the street? We established in the beginning that everyone's just kind of playing it at home or in a secluded area somewhere, but why in the street? I mean, you can't really see anything with those things on, right? Wouldn't people be like, you know, bumping into each other and causing accidents? Also, I don't want to give away too much, but there is one character who in the start of the film we just know through her avatar, and she tells the main character, "You're gonna be disappointed if you meet me, you're gonna be disappointed." So we get the idea that maybe like she's deformed, or maybe it's like a 300-pound guy, we don't know. But when we finally meet her, she's like normal looking, except for she's got like this birthmark on her face. Really? A birthmark? That's what you were building up to? Wouldn't it have been a little more meaningful if maybe she was like really facially deformed, or maybe if she was missing a limb or something, but the main character accepts her anyway? A birthmark. Really? Oh, also, again, not gonna give away too much, but Waithe asked this one character a very legit question, and it totally deserves an answer, but we don't get an answer. In fact, it's trying so hard to be mysterious and deep, but it's not mysterious and deep. It's frustrating. In fact, it's really infuriating that you didn't tell us what was going on there. No, guys, that question deserved an answer. I demand answers. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, guys. Oh, this movie makes my brain hurt in some moments. Oh my gosh. And it's too bad, because I couldn't get into this movie for so many of those reasons. Just some little fixes to the screenplay would have turned it into this great Spielberg 80s throwback movie. That would have been so awesome, but it lacked so much, and it was so not emotionally charged, and I just stopped caring. I just kept asking questions throughout the movie. And what's also disappointing is that I feel like most of the people who are going to enjoy this film are ones who really understand how video games work, or have an idea of how video games work. But for the rest of the general public, it's gonna be hard for them to grasp onto this, because it's gonna be hard to follow every single little detail that they give us. especially when we have no reason to care about the characters. And I know this movie could have worked because I love the movie Wreck-It Ralph, which is all about video games, but I don't play video games, but that doesn't matter because the movie is about the characters and their relationships with each other and their sympathetic motivations. Those are the things that we should have been more focused on in this film. And just one more little thing that I have to kind of rant about. They do throw in this message about how reality is better than the oasis and we need to turn off virtual reality or video games and really just enjoy reality more, and that seems right. I mean, it's a little cliche, but considering the plot, yeah, that absolutely goes hand in hand, of course. Only problem is, they said the world sucks right now. Even though we don't have really a chance to see how bad the world is, or even get a chance to see the things that make reality great. And I know they try to throw that stuff in there with, you know, the romance between our leads and everything, but again, I don't care about them. Guys, movie 101. Show, don't tell. Show me how bad the world is. Show me the romance between these two. Show me why they're relatable. Besides the fact that they can solve puzzles, apparently. And I'm sorry, again, if you really genuinely enjoyed this movie, then that's fine. Whether it's your trash or if it really spoke to you on some level, then that's great. I'm really glad that you were able to get sucked into it despite all the flaws. Ready Player One really does have a lot going for it, but it fails to capture the heart of stories like this that live up to their potential. And as you hopefully guessed, I really wanted to enjoy this movie. I really did, and I had high hopes for it considering the tomato meter, but I just couldn't get over how underdeveloped it was. I love the idea of this movie in theory, I just don't think it came out to be what it could have been. And if you like video games or nostalgia being thrown at you, then maybe this movie's for you. You will probably like it fine. It may not leave a huge impact on you, but at least you'll have a fun ride. To compare, it's a lot like a Universal ride. It'll give you a fun thrill, but it won't have the heart of a Disneyland ride. Sorry. For the rest of the people out there, I would say you're definitely not gonna get a lot out of this, especially not from the characters. So, unless you're a big nerd or a big gamer enthusiast, this movie's probably not for you. And finally, if you made it this far through my trying to be positive rant, then you know what? Good for you. Seriously, brownie points, you deserve a medal. Good job. Thank you guys so much for watching, and now here's this week's Stardust winner and their thoughts on the film.
All in all, I thought it was a good movie. But for one thing, does anybody think that the main character looks an awful lot like Markiplier?
So those are my thoughts on Steven Spielberg's most recent film, Ready Player One. So now I want to know, what did you think of this movie? Did you genuinely enjoy it? Were you not able to get attached to it because so much of it was questionable? Did you get from the beginning that it was trying to be an 80s classic film? Or were you like me and thought, oh, hey, at the end, there it is. Okay, now I get it. Also let me know, what was your favorite nostalgic throwback in the film? And also, are there any other movies or shows or trailers coming up that you want me to do a review of? Well, go ahead and leave your comments below. Be sure to like and share, and if you're new and like what you saw here, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and also be sure to hit the little bell button down there to get notified when new stuff comes out, because I make new videos every week! Bye, Adorkable buddies, I'll see you soon!